Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, a more horror take on the classic Sabrina the Teenage Witch, drops this Friday, January 24 on Netflix. Let's get you caught up. Many people in the 90s grew up loving the ABC sitcom Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Well, this ain't that. This is a modern take, still a teen show, closer to something you'd see on the CW, but a little bit more intense. One of the great things about this series is its depth. And what I mean by depth is, just like I talked about in my Doug Ernst Soul Finder review, a lot of research really went into this, into Satanism and different lore, history of demons. So it's a much more intense, and although it is still silly and for teenagers, it has more depth and a much darker tone. So I hate to say it, but if you are a super duper Christian and Harry Potter gives you the willies because it's talking about magic, Sabrina definitely is not for you. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is about a girl named Sabrina Spellman who was born, quote unquote, half witch, half mortal. So apparently in this world, witches are kind of like a different species or a different race. Her father was a famous witch who was at one point head of the Church of Night, which is this world's sort of evil analog to Catholicism. And her mother was a quote-unquote mortal. Now, very interesting. They actually play up this duality a lot, where Sabrina kind of grows up good, even though she's brought up in this satanic church. And we know it's satanic because they talk about Hail Satan and making the dark pact and signing your name in Satan's book. Now, all of these things have a lot of history in American folklore, especially things with like the Salem witch trial back in the 1600s. So it's kind of nice to see those old traditions really brought back into this. What we see is Sabrina's mother had her aunt Hilda take Sabrina to be baptized in a Catholic baptism. Her aunt Zelda, however, is a bit of a zealot as to the Church of Night and a very loyal devotee of Satan. Sabrina's parents die in mysterious circumstances, which are blamed on a plane crash. Seems strange for a warlock to die in a plane crash, no? So she's living with her two aunts, and then also her cousin Ambrose. Ambrose is under house arrest for trying to murder the Pope. We don't exactly know what went on there, but we don't know if it's a revenge thing, he just went rogue and tried to provoke a war with Catholics. It's hard to say. That's the main family. Now, Sabrina has a bunch of friends who are problematic. They're sort of the kinks in the show. But she's got this boyfriend, Harvey Crinkle. He's just the sweetest guy. Harvey's got problems at home. His dad is kind of a psycho, wants him to work in a mine instead of being a comic book artist. I can kind of see where Dad's coming from, but in addition to Harvey, Sabrina has two other friends, Rosalind Walker and Susie or Theo Putman. Now, Rosalind Walker goes around talking about intersectionalism and this and that, and she's cursed to be blind physically but have the gift of prophecy. Susie/Theo is a trans character in a bit that's way too heavy-handed, way too on the nose for current year, and generally handled very poorly, except for in the second season. There's one scene where Susie is offered the ability to be transformed into a boy, which she wants, but it turns his hand into a tree, like a log. They say, well, You either have to cut the arm off to stop the spread of this, or you go back to being a girl. And he's like, no, I would rather cut off my arm than be a girl again. And that is the most realistic it gets. Otherwise, it's just preachy and cringy. Ooh. But the main story of Sabrina the Teenage Witch in Season 1 is there is kind of a coming of age day on Sabrina's 16th birthday, where she is supposed to put her name into Satan's book. And Satan will give her all sorts of powers, and she'll become immortal, or at least very long-lived. It's not 100% clear. And all this kind of stuff. Well, she refuses because she is not a big fan of the Dark Lord. Now, this causes all sorts of uproar and calamity. And of course, her aunts and her cousin Ambrose are horrified. This is great. This really emulates a lot of coming of age stuff. Kids don't want to deal with their family's traditions. They want to be their own people. So the rest of Season 1 is more or less Sabrina trying to find loopholes in a contract, trying to find ways to stay away from Satan's grasp. But in the end, she signs her name in order to save her family, because Satan's going to destroy the town, and that is pretty bad. Season 2 rolls around, and you sort of have a continuation of where we are, but at this point, Sabrina's living a dual life. She's going to school during the day with her friends, and then later in the afternoon, she goes to a witches' school. Now, the witches' school has her enemies in it, as well as a boyfriend, Nick Scratch. Now, one of the interesting things about Nick Scratch is Nick and Scratch are both names that Europeans called the devil back in the day. Nick and Old Scratch. Is this kid directly Satan's kid, or is he more the devil himself, meant to tempt Sabrina? Season 2 is all about breaking Sabrina of her ties, breaking her off from her quote-unquote mortal friends, and seeing if she will take the slow slide into becoming a true witch, a true devotee of Satan. One of the first things that Satan asks her to do is to steal a pack of gum. Now, this is amazing. It seems like a small, fairly inconsequential thing, but in Christianity, traditional Christianity lore, this is how it starts. You start with small sins, and then eventually they get bigger and bigger. So I like that they have Satan using the same methodology in this world. They're going to break her little by little, one at a time. And eventually, Sabrina is broken off from her boyfriend, Harvey. Now, part of the problem is it appears that Harvey comes from a long list of witch hunters. And the witch hunters show up at various points to try to take out the Spellmans. They fail, of course, because, of course, Harvey loves her. But at the end of Season 2, we have this weird dichotomy where Sabrina is now dating Nick and Harvey is dating Agatha. A lot of Harvey dating Agatha seems to be he feels sort of guilty and protective of Agatha because she's going blind. So we'll have to see in Season 3 where that leaves us off. So there's several other plot points. You have the Church of the Night, run by Father Faustus Blackwood. And at the end of Season 2, his church is pretty much destroyed by various witch hunters, and seemingly Satan himself is against it. And he has a daughter, Prudence Blackwood. Now, Prudence is a leader of the Weird Sister, who are sort of Sabrina's teenage rivals. They start off in episode 1 of Season 1, giving her crap, and they continue on. They want to harass her, make her life difficult. They're occasional buddies and help her out, but they're more frenemies than anything else. Father Blackwood gets his wife pregnant, has supposedly what is Satan's child, and Prudence finds out that Father Blackwood is actually her father. Apparently in this church, it's cool to go boning all your congregation. Prudence wants to be loved by her father, wants to help out with the baby, at least at certain points. So in season 3, we will see what ends up with them. So just a quick recap. Teenage girl, witch powers, slow descent into becoming one of Satan's minions? Or will she break away and live a good life and closer to her mortal friends? I don't know. We got to find out. Season 3 should answer a lot of those questions. Also, what the heck happened to her parents, and what was her father's big secret? Alright guys, review's over. Subscribe. We're going to have a review of Season 3 after it comes out this weekend. Click like on this video because you know you like it. Satan will get you if you don't. And leave a comment. What do you think is going to happen in Season 3? See you soon.